Good morning. On this beautiful, sunshiny Sunday, as that great saint, sage, and philosopher, I was going to say Will Rogers. What am I thinking of? It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Mr. Rogers, yes. It's amazing how you remember stuff. Anyway, as he would say, it is a beautiful day in the neighborhood, and we greet you and welcome you, of course, to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Niagara. My name is Ron Skowronski, and I need to announce, with regret, of course, that our extraordinarily talented Patricia Callback, our director of music, will not be here with us today. She's a little bit, as they say, under the weather. Nothing ridiculously serious, nothing that would require overt concern, but nonetheless she needs to, as they say, lay low, drink some broth of the cluck, as I call it, and some orange juice, and hopefully she'll be better in a few days. But to begin our service today, before we light our chalice, I share with you the words of Reverend Kimmy Floyd Reich, and this is called The Flames of Love. As we light the flame of commitment, we stand with and work to create change until all know that they are beloved. We light the flame of survival, grateful for our lives, remembering in love those lost along the road. We light the flame of change, committing to recenter toward love in hearts, in minds, in our world. We light the flame of hope, loving each other, building community, even when it is uncomfortable. We light the flame of knowledge, following the path of justice, justice that is love embodied. We light this flame of radical love to speak out for those who have been silenced, those who have been rejected for who they love, those who have been persecuted for who they are, those who have been bullied for daring to be bold, those who have been othered and forced into the margins, those who have been lonely, those who have been hurt, those who are still hurting. We commit to light this flame as a people committed. We are survivors. We will change this world. Until no one lives without hope, until no one lives without justice, we light this flame and pledge in love, with love, and through love, that all things are possible. May this light we now kindle inspire us to use our powers to heal and not to harm, to help and not to hinder, to bless and not to curse, to serve you, Spirit of freedom. If you'll turn in your hymnal to hymn number 95, and there you will find excuse me? I told you that Patty was not going to be here, not only as a matter of courtesy, but as a matter of fair warning. Yes, we are going to try to sing this a cappella, as they say. Yes, you've heard of him. Acapello, yes. Anyway, let's make Aki proud. And let me give us the first note. Okay, please.
Okay.
There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere. There is more hope somewhere. There is more hope somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more hope somewhere. There is more peace somewhere. There is more peace somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more peace somewhere. There is more joy somewhere. There is more joy somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more joy somewhere. Thank you. That was well done. I can see it now. The Unitarian Universalist Memorial Choir of Niagara. The Mormon Tabernacle Choir will have nothing on us. I hear they're shaking in their boots even as we speak. Anyway. Our responsive reading this morning comes to us in our hymnal. Pardon me. And as we have reflected in our responsive reading to and reacted to the concept and the commitment and the covenant of love, we also turn to this number 444 called This House as a further commitment to that love. And it was written by Kenneth L. Patton. I will begin, and if you will follow me in tandem, please. This house is for the ingathering of nature and human nature. It is a house of freedom, guarding the dignity and worth of every person. It is a house of truth-seeking, where scientists can encourage devotion to their quest, where mystics can abide in a community of searchers. It is a house of prophecy, outrunning times past and times present in visions of growth and progress. Thank you. We now come to that portion of our service that we call that of honoring joys and sorrows. I light this candle as a sorrow. As we all know, and as we will reflect upon in just a few moments, there is much talk, especially in the month of February, about love. And yet, we seem as a planetary community to be able to talk about it quite a bit. And yet somehow we do not seem to have the ability to match our walk with our talk. And so this candle is put forth as a sorrow that we regret that we have yet to live as aspirationally as we continue to strive for. And I also take this opportunity to light a candle of joy. There's been a little bit of confusion, and you've gotten to know me better. I think you understand that I am the high priest of confusion. Communication sometimes is not my strongest suit, but there's been some confusion as to my health. Of course, you know that I'm with the challenge of a recurring prostate cancer, and the confusion lay in the timing of my treatment. It was originally to begin and end, if you will, on February the 10th, and then they, as sometimes medical folk have to because of schedules and resources and whatnot, that's been changed. So I will be enjoying the hospitality of Millard Fillmore Suburban Hospital on the 14th of February. I will have my procedure that day, and all things being equal and with no complications, I'll be coming home that day. I tell you this with one caveat. There may be some of you who do not believe that there is any such thing as a God. Some of you may be even atheistic, and I, of course, what better place to be an atheist than in the Unitarian Universalist Church? But I can only share with you my spiritual path. I myself do believe that there is some kind of a supreme power, a cosmic consciousness, if you will, because the irony is not lost that I am having major prostate surgery on Valentine's Day. Convinces me beyond any shadow of a doubt that maybe not your God, but my God has a ribald sense of humor. So I say that with gratitude and, of course, tongue in cheek. If there's anyone else, please, for joys and sorrows.
So probably like a lot of you, I've been worrying about what's going to happen in the presidential election and everything this year. And I just finished reading a really good book that I would recommend to everybody. It's called Democracy Awakening by Heather Cox Richardson. She actually goes through and explains how we got to this point, how we've been here before in the past, and how we managed to get to a better place. It's really fascinating. There's a lot of historical stuff in there that I had no idea that our country had done in the past. Wow. But it's a really, really good book, and I recommend it. I also have been reading about our fifth principle, which is the use of the democratic process in our congregations and in the world at large. And I think I'm going to give an article I read to Erica to put in the next power line or whatever, it was really, really good about how important democracy is and what we need to do to save it.
Thank you. Thank you.
A couple of nights ago, there was a terrible tragedy for one family, and I guess a joy for another family. My wife's cousin, who is, I think, 43 years old, and in seemed to be in perfect health. And he went to pick up his 14-year-old son at baseball practice, to take him home. And on his way home, I think it was called a brain aneurysm.
Oh, no.
And apparently he died instantly. And his car went into a snowbank. And I feel particularly bad about the 14-year-old son. But fortunately, he was told that he did everything right. There was nothing he could do to save his father. And the joy is that his heart was, I think heart and lungs and a couple other organs were donated. And I particularly felt bad for the son because afraid that he was going to carry the burden all his life. That he should have done something to save his father, but he was told that he did everything right.
Well, this is on? All
Yeah,
right.
it is.
All right. A couple of them. Actually, I was just going to do one this morning, but very glad to have you back, Ron, and continue prayer and thoughts for you. That's
you.
the first candle. Second candle is for my brother-in-law, Matt, down Southern Tier. He's had problems with alcohol for many years, and I don't know why he decided to go cold turkey to stop drinking, which is good but bad at the same time, because as a result of stopping his drinking, of course, I don't know those symptoms because, I'm not an alcoholic, but I guess he got the shakes and he got dehydrated severely, lost a lot of his vitamins, something like that,
Electrolytes.
But he ended up in the hospital for this. And anyway, he's back home now recovering. So I just want to kind of have thoughts and prayers for him, his recovery. He is getting better, but it's kind of a slow process. And I'm proud of him for at least, trying.
Absolutely.
He should have maybe done it, I thought, a little bit slower,
Yes.
reduce the alcohol slowly.
Yeah. One thing I will mention that I think is significant, and I really appreciate Teresa mentioning about the book that you just read. I want to get the title of that again because I want to read it. I find myself, just like so many of us, having these anxieties over the future of our great country. But she made a point that I think must be honed in on again. If you were to read the history of our great nation and see some of these shenanigans and unbelievable things that were done in the name of God, in the name of good politics, even in the name of democracy, you would pale, which is why I always encourage people to read by Howard Zinn, The History of the American People. And again, another eye-opener. But the one good thing about the book that she recommended and what I've just told you about Mr. Zinn is that there is always this solid, steel of hope that in spite of the facts that we have this tendency to really repeat history again and again and again, we somehow seem to be able to find our way back to those democratic principles. And so I wanted to share that because, again, it is a significant thing that people bring to my attention. I want to say now almost daily. And as we approach November, I'm sure I'll be getting, that same kind of anxiety as I feel myself at times. So as we prepare now, if you would please, we are now, it is now our opportunity for the offering. And I don't know what you could hum as your brother, can you spare a dime? No, I don't know. I don't know if that qualifies as a hymn, but we do remind you that it is through your generosity that it does make this ministry and this unique and important point of view possible as future generations come here and will come after us. So if you would please take up the offering, and we would be grateful. Two ushers, no waiting. I wonder if they come from the house of Usher. I don't know. I'm reading too much Poe lately.
Are your employees adding security holes? Take
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in the heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea. Move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me. Thank you. I want to warn you, you're going to have a choice come next year. We're either going to have to really pull it together to establish better choir practices, or I'm going to put together the Ron Skowronski Memorial Kazoophony. Be afraid, be very afraid. I wanted to mention something before I begin my address that I found interesting. And of course, as we often reflect and affirm and hold to very tightly, we as a faith tradition are the respecter of all faith traditions. We are what the word now that's being bantered about that I didn't think was all that often used is we're fundamentally omnists. An omnist is, I think I've shared this with you before, is someone who believes that there is something good in every single religious expression, and that does not, under any circumstances, view any one of those expressions as being, quote, the only one true expression. And I found that I wanted to share with you that on January the 30th, your friends and mine, the Zoroastrians, they gather at sunset to celebrate the 50 days and 50 nights remaining to spring. Sada, which means the 100, is an ancient feast from which the religion was the dominant faith in the powerful Persian Empire, which collapsed after the Arab invasion in the 7th century. Zoroastrianism is a monotheistic religion that predates Christianity and Islam. It was founded some 3,800 years ago by the prophet Zoroaster. It stresses good deeds, and fire plays a central role in worship as a symbol of truth and the Spirit of God. Zoroastrians stress that they are not fire worshipers, but see fire as a symbol of righteousness. During Tuesday's ceremony, it was stressed that the celebration belongs to everyone and is a symbol of felicity, respect to humanity and nature, as well as all human beings. And I found that to be important to share. My question in the title of my address, my sermon, if you will, is, are you a friend of Cupid? I have found that over the past couple of months, especially with some of the guidance offered by the Unitarian Universalist Association under the auspices of Caring Circle and Spirit Matters and so forth, has had an enormous emphasis, and righteously so, on the concept of love. And of course, we talk about radical love. We talk about liberating love. In fact, February is the theme for the month of February is liberating love. And I'm finding that as not just as a minister, but as a just, Ron, man off the street, I am getting absolutely weary of not talking so much about love, but talking about it because I'm beginning to feel that we are, as I mentioned during the joys and sorrows, that there is kind of a redundancy. In other words, we keep talking about it, talking about it, talking about it. We sing about it. We dance about it. We do everything about it. But it seems sometimes we don't come into full awareness or full consciousness. What I like to call rigorous honesty is the fact that we are way better at talking about it rather than practicing it. And I noted that, we feel we are still, as a member of the human family, as a participant in the species of humanity, if you will, that we are obsessed with this concept of love. And I think we're obsessed with it because of the fact that we sense on an evolutionary basis that it is the motivating energy that produces all of the things that we desire. A sense of belonging, a sense of community, a sense of feeling, for lack of a better term, and of course this is true with romantic love, eros, a sense of being special, unique, different. And yet, so often, we find that because we need this so desperately, we go forth approaching it not with an attitude of gratitude, an attitude for what love we do have in ourselves and with each other, but we come to it from a point of need. We come to it from a point of what I don't have as opposed to what I do have. That is a very significant attitude adjustment that I believe I need to make. I don't know about yourselves. I'd like you to give that some consideration, because all too often when we focus on what we don't have, we have this tendency to become, and I used the word earlier, need or needy, and we focus on it so much that we seem to psychologically, and then in the world of our day-to-day affairs, we seem to then go forth and kind of replicate this, call it a consciousness, call it a self-fulfilling prophecy of not doing or not drawing into ourselves the very thing that we claim or that we feel we absolutely need. The word love is used more than 300 times in the Bible. 300 times. It is used in such a way that it finally says it very plainly. God, whatever you conceive God to be, God is love. Or at the very highest manifestation or awareness that this thing that we call love is ultimately the highest attribute that we can give to that which we would call the ground of being, first cause, infinite intelligence, higher consciousness, the all that is. So that's why we're so obsessed. We sense within ourselves that this is important. We have seen by others' example, other individuals' example, the results of loving self and loving neighbor as self. But we must also be mindful, and this I've said this before, and it bears repeating, that if we don't find a way to accept ourselves just the way we are and love ourselves, truly love ourselves, it is virtually almost impossible to love others. We may be attached to them, we may be needy in our relationship to them, but true love, a love of giving without expectation of getting, to be willing to be there for one another without any other rationalization or agenda, cannot happen, because it is still based on unfulfilled need. On unfulfilled need. Religion, specifically the Christian religion, made a horrible mistake in its evolution and its development by making itself, instead of following the teachings and the prescriptions of whom I call the rabbi, Jesus, turned it into a religion of belief and belonging. If you believe this, this, and this, and this, you belong. If you don't believe this, 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 and this, you don't belong. Whether the true gospel, the true good news, is that everybody belongs, no exception. It was, from its inception, so to speak, a religious or I would prefer to call it a spiritual expression. Religion basically is my attitudes, my beliefs, my dogmas, my creeds that I inflict on you. Spirituality is your religion, your beliefs, your all those things that make up your uniqueness, that makes your life more meaningful and more abundant in relationship to that which is called God and to each other. So I prefer to call it a spirituality. But the spirituality, almost from its very inception, was a spiritual expression of transformation and transcendence. Transformation and transcendence. So as we stop engaging in these gospels, these so-called good newses, I assure you, I do have a degree. A degree in what, I'm not sure at the moment, but nonetheless, a degree. This good news that comes from here, there, and everywhere is about, again, belief and belonging, where a transcendent and transcendental good news says, you're okay, just the way you are. But again, I mention, again, the third time, but again, to bear importance, I'm okay, just the way I am. We spend, on an average, I read the statistic of $150 to $250 per person in this country to celebrate Valentine's Day. Okay? Nudge him in the ribs. Ask him how much he spent. Run, save yourself. Yeah, really. I got to tell you, my wife is laughing. Gee, honey, what are you getting me for Valentine's Day? Oh, I don't know, ride to the hospital? Well, thank you very much, dear. What, you know what you're getting? Me back. Ooh. It doesn't seem to be fair, but anyway, that's the way it is. But the point is still the same. We spend all this money to somehow psychologically convince ourselves in our mindset that we are, by doing these things, by the boxes of chocolates, by the gallons of perfume, by the truckloads of flowers, that we're somehow creating that sense of the beloved with our significant other, if there is one at that time in our lives, or with all the other people around and about us. And again, we look at the world and we say, nah, not really. But that doesn't eliminate hope. That doesn't eliminate that we still try, that we still become conscious of where, we have, in a sense, fallen short and said, okay, let's start with me. What is it about me that's unique? What is it about me that's special? What is it about me that is lovable? And people, unfortunately, because of the way theology and philosophy has expressed itself over the past, I would say, at least 1,000, maybe 1,300 years, we've been taught that when we do that, we are being self-centered. We are being selfish. And people are still struggling in our psychological communities to encourage people to engage in what? Self-care, self-acceptance. That is exactly what psychology's mission is to hopefully allow and encourage an individual to self-accept and to work through any of those bad messages that said you are not worthy, you are less than. Does it really surprise us that religions that are based upon critique, condemnation, and in some cases even to the point of physical violence, does it surprise us that the world is the way that it is? Of course it shouldn't. It's a logical progression. As I've said to you before, and I'll say it again, bad theology equals bad psychology equals horrible behavior, and ultimately not pleasant conclusions. So again, what do? We do what every preacher in this country is going to be talking about in any church in the month of February. We look at ourselves and ask, when they might be asking how much you love another, I've got to ask you, how much do you love yourself? And if you don't love yourself, there are ways to help you do that. See how other people treat you. Take a moment to reflect upon the good things, the nice things, the supportive things people do. Do you know why they do that? Because you're lovable. You are worthy of being cared for. You are worthy of being nurtured and supported. And then if we can take that gift and really hold it, and it's a struggle because there's that part of us, that's the ego, the psychology that says, oh, no, I'm being selfish, or oh, no, they can be talking about him or her. They're not talking about me. We embrace that. And then we try to do something like the Dalai Lama says, one day at a time, an act of loving kindness, especially to some who may not deserve it. Thomas Merton, famous Roman Catholic apologist, once said that our job is to love without stopping to ask whether the person is worthy or not. That is none of your business. What is your business is the recognition that you are worthy. And if you are worthy by reflection, they must be worthy. And it is our obligation as spiritual beings, so to speak, as individuals who are interested in the growth and evolutionary of the human species, the human consciousness, to strive to stretch ourselves just a little bit more, one day at a time, toward each and every person that we come in contact with. Most important thing you want to do, and this is significant. I mentioned earlier, why are we so obsessed with love? What is the key? I think I've kind of found it, at least for myself. I want to be understood. And I also want to understand. And I'm not going to stretch this into any metaphysical treatise about God and all of that. I want you to understand me as deeply as I want to understand you. It is in that understanding that those feelings stir of self-acceptance, of self-love, and then blossom out into real love, a transformative, transcendental love that we seem to all be seeking. I think that more often than not, when we can try to do that and recognize that one day we're going to be pretty darn good at it, and the next day, not so much. But that's why we gather for this experiment called church. Different people from different backgrounds, colors, creeds, educational levels, etc., 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 making a conscious, aspirational, intentional decision to look beyond the differences and to affirm and to promote one another. It's an experiment. In some times in human history, it seems to have been a blossoming, wonderful experience. And I'll tell you usually what the secret is. When it's a blossoming, wonderful experience and when people did not focus on belief and belonging, but instead focused on, again, transformation and transcendence, which is a fancy way of what I've been saying about striving to love self and love each other, that's when things get better. I'm a Star Trek fan. And in 1989, there was a movie that was made in the Star Trek movie series, not the television series, called Star Trek: The Final Frontier. And in the series, Mr. Spock has a half-brother who is way more, quote, human than possibly even Spock could comprehend becoming. And his name was Sybok. And in the beginning of the movie, Sybok would be going around to these various, you will call them, because that's how it hits you in the movie, on the movie screen, these godforsaken places, these deserts, these hellholes of places that he would still find human beings. And I think this is kind of a metaphor for the self-created hells that we engage in as we move forth in our humanity. And Sybok had this gift, this superpower, if you will. And all he did was he took the person that came before him, looked deeply into their eyes, and then embraced them. And by some magic or what have you, through the wonder of Hollywood, it was almost palpable. You could see the person's fear, anxiety, hatred, feeling that life isn't fair and that they have been given the short end of the proverbial stick, just melt away. And the person became so filled with self-acceptance and so filled with love that they then offered to him, the healer, or the wonder worker, their basic devotion and gratitude in leaps and bounds. And as I was watching this, and I said, boy, if I had a superpower, if I had something that I could give, where I could just embrace someone and they could palpably feel all of that pain melt away, and then be filled, so to speak, with a better sense of self-acceptance, joy, if you will, in just being themselves. And then it hit me. It really hit me. We all have that superpower. It came to us the moment we drew our first breath. And the reason we haven't used that superpower is because of religion, because of other teachings and other people in our lives that have said, you're not worthy. Who do you think you are? And all the other kind of stuff that holds us back from being who and what we really are. Individualized expressions of love, if you choose to use that turn of phrase. And so that as we celebrate this month of February, where we have Valentine's Day, and we have, well, of course, it's Black History Month, which we need to also embrace that we've come a long way in terms of race relations, but we have so much to accomplish in the future. But it's my conviction that when we do so through the auspices of self-love, self-acceptance, and reaching out to others in that same fashion, that we will then achieve what has eluded humankind for these many thousands of years. Peace on earth, goodwill toward all humankind. So I invite you to celebrate that love that burns within you. And please, for your sake, more than anyone else's, feel it for yourself. And you'll begin to see some amazing things that you will gift unto others. Thank you, and I bid you peace. What do we got here? Let's see. As we now prepare for our announcements and closing words, let us turn to hymn number 34. And Erica has found. Hopefully I found the right video. And if not, we don't care. We are flexible. Remember, we are flexible. And and please remain seated, be comfortable. I've tortured you enough this morning. So let us, here we go, let us rise. I'm such a creature of habit. Maestro, if you would begin.
Though I may give
fellowship and are free. We come to that portion of our service now, the announcements. Of course, we encourage you to please join us after the service for coffee and fellowship and goodies. And as I mentioned to you before, even though I'm going to be kind of out of commission for a couple of weeks starting February 14th, that should not in any way preclude me from being with you again the first Sunday of March. And I didn't realize I did this, but I did, because they tell me I did. That I'm going to also be with you in March on Sunday, St. Patrick's Day. For the wearing of the green, don't you know? Or the orange, as your case might be. May I wish you well. Anyway, so we're going to be having hopefully a festive and a good time on St. Patty's Day. Are there any other announcements that we need to be made aware of before we conclude our service today? Yes, ma'am.
This isn't exactly an announcement, but reading in the order of service, there's nobody for coffee hour next week, and John Snodgrass is coming, so maybe we could make it into a potluck so he won't starve between the service and his presentation.
Come on, I don't get a potluck. No, I'm kidding. I have a miracle to report. This last Friday at our congregation in Fredonia, we celebrated. There was a group of people who were very inclined toward paganism and Wicca. And so just as our Zoroastrian friends celebrates Sadeh as that time between spring and, winter and spring, the holiday, as I believe it's called, is Imbolc. IMBOLC. You'll have to forgive me if I've messed that up. But anyway, we had a wonderful service, again, born out of our commitment to natural earth religions and so forth. And afterward, we had a potluck. And it's the first time in many years I've ever seen this, but everybody brought something unique and different, and it was very well received, and everybody had a grand time. But I remember, my wife tells me, she says, "Did you notice something strange?" I go, "No, nothing stranger than usual." Some of the potluck offerings were definitely unique. But anyway, I said, "No." She says, "There was only one cherry pie for 30 people. I said, "Well, and Jesus has nothing on me. He can do it with loaves and fishes. I can do it with a cherry pie." Because nobody complained they didn't get dessert. It appears that this cherry pie was distributed equally to those who were interested. It's a miracle. Someday I'll tell you how many Unitarian Universalists it takes to turn a light bulb. That's a whole nother story. Those are the announcements we have for today. Before we have the extinguishing of our chalice, please, let us take a moment to center ourselves and to go within. We acknowledge the infinite spirit of life, the ground of being, that which men and women for generations have called God by many names, but we just simply call it life. And as we acknowledge that one life, that one power, that one infinite presence in, around, and about us, we covenant to celebrate love. We covenant to celebrate radical love, love that goes beyond expectation, love that goes beyond condition. And we celebrate that love because we know at the heart of our being that when we love ourselves and strive to love one another, especially those who would be considered unlovable, that we are liberated. We are free, and free indeed. So as we leave this sanctuary, as we leave this hallowed hall, we commit ourselves and to one another, that we shall strive to do so in a manner that would befit liberation, joy, and peace. In the spirit of justice we pray, amen. Postlude. Brother, can you spare a dime? No, that's the other one. Get out now, head to the choppers. That's all I can say. We have no postlude except unless you have something in your, you did a beautiful job. That was nice in that bag of tricks to have that last. But as we pardon me, we're going to have the extinguishing of our chalice. Forgive me. We extinguish this chalice, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, and the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Our separate fires will kindle one flame. Witness the mystery of this hour. Our trials in this life appear all the same. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then. Gather in hope, compassion and strength, gather to celebrate once again. Gather the spirit of heart and mind, seeds for the sowing are laid in store, nurtured in love, conscious refined, with body and spirit united once more. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then. Gather in hope, compassion and strength, gather to celebrate once again.